That one, of course, I can't see, but I do. These do have tally lights on them.
Okay, yes. The one in the center, I'm not seeing a light.
Well, there's no tally light on the GH5.
No tally lights.
No tally lights on the GH5S. That's one of the differences between the GH5S and the GH6.
Just make sure when you're moving forward, you know you're going into focus.
Well,
Yeah, so we have that.
Are we going to start this thing? Or
Yes, we are.
Just...
Well, welcome to the Micro Four Thirds Curmudgeons. I'm Stan, and this is Larry, and we're back.
And we're curmudgeonly.
We're curmudgeonly, yes, but we are at least having our coffee, which is a good thing. No, I apologize for the delay in us doing any videos over the past couple of months. Had to deal with a little bit of cancer, but we got that under control, knock on wood. Missing about a third of my ear, but who cares? I don't look there.
Knock on Formica.
Knock on for. There's some wood underneath here. Particle board. Anyway, welcome.
Tree once.
It was a tree once, some part of it. Many parts are edible. Anyway, not going to go there.
Gil Gibbons.
Yeah. Anyway, well, welcome back to our channel. So we're going to try to get you caught up and what the plans are for the coming months. A couple of things we're going to be talking about. One of the things I did was, as you know, I had some medium format film cameras, had sold the Bronicas, had the Hasselblad 500 cm and some lenses, and decided with my poor eyesight and the issues that I was having, et cetera, it was time to sell it and just give in and go to this monstrosity.
So now he's maxi 4/3.
Maxi 4/3.
Micro 4/3.
I'm sticking with the 4/3 proportions. So I've been shooting with the older GFX 50S. I do have access to a 100S, but there's something about the 50S that I really like. I like the feel of it. I also like I can put on the adapter for the viewfinder, and I can use it as a waist level and stuff like that. Lenses, of course, are brilliant. Of course, it is a bit on the heavy side compared to my current used camera, the OM1. A number of you may remember a while back I mentioned that I was kind of so inspired, maybe a little bit, maybe not. The more I've used this camera, the more inspired I've become. And part of that is I didn't realize how much nicer the viewfinder was, how much nicer things were to work with. It feels great in the hands, it travels well, it does everything well.
Does it make coffee?
No, it doesn't, but we have coffee, so we don't need to worry about it making coffee. And with that all to be said, I'm also going to be traveling back to Italy end of April, and instead of taking either of those, I'm going to go back to my little Pen F. This is one of my favorite little carry cameras. I'll carry this all over the world, and still beautiful imagery, and it doesn't get noticed as like one of these others do. And that's that. But we have a number of new lenses we've added to the stable. And Larry can talk more about this, especially on the video side. One is an autofocus lens, wide angle. And the other is a manual focus lens, wide angle. So you want to talk about those?
So I actually don't think I've used this. So this is the 9mm Panasonic. Tons of people have reviewed it. For video on the gimbal, doing say real estate work, it's actually ideal because of its weight, because of the angle of the view. It's really actually fabulous. Everybody's agreeing that it's fabulous, and that's because it's fabulous.
Yeah, and the price is right.
And the price is right. So the price is right on this also.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the other thing that Stan acquired, which I have used for architectural photography, is the 6mm Laowa. And it's actually really fabulous too. It's manual focus only, but it does have the electronic contacts, so you can control the aperture and you get the data on your files as to what you shot it at, which is nice. And it's slightly heavier than the 9, but it's not, even though it's all metal, it's actually still quite lightweight. So I think it would play well on the gimbal, though I think that's too wide on a gimbal for real estate photography.
Yes.
Now, your mileage may vary.
Yeah. No, one of the things, and the reason why I picked it up was our friend Jimmy Chang over at Red 35 had talked about this. He had gotten one of the first samples of it, and of course he had used it on the video-centric one where it's got the rings and stuff on it. And I've been looking for something ultra wide, but also compact, something small. I mean, I've got the 7-14. Love that lens.
Which is a great lens, except for it's quite heavy.
It's large and
though
heavy.
not nearly as heavy as the 7-14 4/3.
Right. Yeah, the original one.
Giant.
And that was an f4, not even a 2.8.
That was an f4, and it was giant and heavy.
Right. One of the cool things,
fabulously corrected.
About
that.
Yeah, but this lens, and the cool thing about it is, it doesn't need all the electronic corrections. This thing is almost darn perfect without any electronic corrections at all. I don't know how the engineers did it, and it's smooth as butter for focus. I mean, no issues whatsoever. I wasn't having any fringing issues. I wasn't having any aberration issues. I wasn't having any distortion. I'm blown away, and this is probably one of my favorite purchases to date, just because, and it plays well on all of my Micro Four Thirds stuff as well as your stuff. So,
yeah, I've had it on the G9. I don't know if I've had it on one of the GHs or not.
well, we can try that on an upcoming. Try it with video. You know, obviously we use for our video. Larry's got 2 GH6s and a GH5S as our center camera. What's not to like? The stuff sets up beautifully. It's easy. It's lightweight. So anyway, so yes, I will not be really shooting any more film. Like I said, only for the fact that I was having a hard time, as much as I love it, I was having a hard time dealing with focus, dealing with the other things. Part of it also being the slower turnaround when I would shoot stuff. I was shooting some color and unfortunately made the mistake of having a local lab process it. And after they process it, they kind of rubber banded it flat, so it puts these really nice curves, so it wouldn't even lay flat in our scanner. So that was kind of the last straw. It just doesn't make sense for me in my workflow. And this is also the same reason why I don't have a M10, monochrome, M11, whatever, and I'm still running this guy, because of the fact that A, I can run my favorite focal length, which is equal to a 50 on 35mm, so 25 on this, and it's interchangeable lenses, and it's got great autofocus, and it's image stabilized. So as much as I want a Leica.
Take that Leica M, image stabilized.
Yeah, I mean, the more coffee I drink, the older I get, the less steady I am. But and I want an M11. I really wish that I had one to play with for a month or two, just because I've always wanted to have an M series camera. But you know, people have talked about the Q2. Oh, maybe you should get a Q2. It's got autofocus. It's got a 28mm fixed lens, and yes, they say, oh, you've got different formats. Yeah, you're just cropping it in, you know. Whereas, to me, that's not the sense of using it. I don't want to just have something that's reasonably high megapixel and a fixed lens, and you just crop in every time you need to use it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I want to be able to use the full resolution of whatever it is, whether it's 20 megapixels or 50 or 100, and use the correct lens to get where I want to go, which leads us back to Micro Four Thirds, size and weight.
That, you know, that still is the most compelling area of the Micro Four Thirds format. The lens ecosystem is extraordinary, and there's no real dogs in it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything, or at least certainly everything that we own, you know, from 6mm now to
basically 1,000mm if you figure
1,000mm equivalent.
Yeah.
It's the lenses that allow the quality, and even now with the GH6s, you know, I've seen no issues with the lenses not being able to handle the additional resolution. The GH6s are of course 25 megapixels, and when they were new, the first GH6 was new. I was playing it with still modes, but I just find I try to just use the I try to use the GHs for video and use the G9 for stills, because there's too many settings going from video to stills, and inevitably one setting doesn't end up getting put back where it belongs when you
Right.
go from the one to the other, and then it brings up another topic is actually I blew up a G9 about a month ago. Had 127,000 exposures on it. It was not the shutter that failed, and I could have had it repaired, but I'm like, so I have a GH5 now that's really not the GH5S, but I have a GH5, and I thought, well, you know, I'm not going to replace that G9. I'm gonna wait and see if there's a G10 in the pipeline. Well, that lasted about a week.
Right.
After about a week, I could not live without my G9, and then Adorama ran a really outstanding deal on a G9 that included a flashpoint roundhead flash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, obviously that's a sign that I'm supposed to have that.
Well,
And
the G9 is brilliant. It's actually, even though it's not as high a megapixel viewfinder as the OM1, I still think it's got the best electronic viewfinder of any of the Micro Four Thirds cameras. It's bright, it's easy to see, it's clear, everything makes sense the way it's laid out. I mean, it looks good to the eye, even my bad eyes. It looks fantastic.
you might not want to tell your customers about the bad eyes. You might want to try to keep that as...
I could be Mr. Magoo. Out of my way, you road hogs. Anyway, sorry. Bad jokes aside. No, and when I say bad eyesight, I have no problem seeing past menu things. For menu stuff, I have my little cheap readers and stuff, and this helps me get right back to it. And when I say bad eyes, I'm talking critical focus without glasses, without a diopter. So, you know, once I have a diopter on, so I can adjust it for my lack of being able to see this close, I'm fine. I don't like looking through viewfinders with glasses on. I just find that very cumbersome, and especially if I'm leaning down, they tend to drop, what have you. But like I said, the viewfinder in the G9, I have viewfinder envy. You know, even it's the same resolution as even in the GFX 50S and the 100S, but it looks so much nicer on the Panasonic. It really does, and I'm blown away at how nice that is. And again, for a great carry-around camera for next to nothing. So, no, so other than that, we've got a few other odds and ends we're doing. I'm working on a couple other projects. We actually have been busy with real paid work, yay. Right now, we're just dealing with some issues of printing out of Lightroom, doing goofy things, but hopefully we get to the bottom of that. And we're going to go ahead and start seeing if we can tether with Lightroom instead of Capture One with this guy, just to keep our workflow the same. So those are a few of the things that are coming up and we're working on. So anything else we want to prepare them with, or keep them surprised for the next time?
Keep them as surprised as we are.
Yeah, I like that idea. We're always surprised. Yeah.
I'm always surprised what happens in these videos.
Yeah, it's like, wow, do we do that? No, and again, we're going to, hopefully this year, more bad things don't happen so we can keep on top of doing more content. I like just doing these because I like to communicate. So if people have things, and be kind when you make comments and suggestions or whatever, what we need to look at, take a look at, review if you want to see a particular piece of equipment, especially in the Micro Four Thirds ecosystem, or even now the Fuji stuff.
Because we probably have it.
Yeah, because we probably have it, you know, and they just, Olympus, or OM Digital Solutions, not Olympus, still call them Olympus. Sorry, my bad. I've been using their cameras for 40 years. They did come out with a new macro 90mm macro lens, equivalent of 180mm, and everything I've seen from the ambassadors looks incredible. You're giving yourself double, at least the focusing, step back distance or whatever that you can back up with, and doing the handheld focus stacking, etc. The macro photography stuff that they're turning out is absolutely brilliant. I don't particularly need to use it. I've got the 60mm 2.8 macro, and that works for everything I do. It's a flat field macro, so when I'm photographing restoration on paintings and stuff, I can go ahead and use that, and it's flat field, so I don't have any worry about curvature or things being out of focus on the corners. So, but that I think is one of the few lenses that we're not going to have.
It's a little bit pricey.
It's, for what it is though, I don't think so. For what it is, people go, oh, that's no, for really for what you get for that money is.
I mean, if you need that, you need that, and you're going to pay that.
Right.
But when we both own 60s, and you the 60 and the 30, and
yeah,
it just.
I don't need to have that. Well, and here's the thing: everybody goes, "Oh, it's so expensive for a micro four thirds lens versus a full frame lens." You have to remember that these lenses are really beautifully engineered. They're designed for the sensor format, of course, but they are sharper lens to lens than anything else on the market. You know, people say, "Oh, this lens is great," as long as you stop it down 2 or 3 stops. These lenses are all designed to be run wide open. I mean, our 1.2 primes, the 17, the 25, the 45 1.2 primes, at 1.2, they are tack sharp to the point where even wide open, a lot of times we'll have to use a 1/8 or a 1/4 black pro mist to soften a little bit, especially when you get somebody with bad skin like mine, or you got somebody who's a little bit older like me. You want to soften a little bit so you're not spending more time retouching. So, like I said, all these lenses work really well wide open. So that negates the have to going up in higher ISO. One of the things that I just realized that somebody was commenting to me about is, well, their full frame camera's got a greater dynamic range. But the problem is they're shooting at ISO 3200 or 10,000 or whatever. And the thing is, once you go above base ISO, you start cutting back your dynamic range. That's the hard truth. So if I can go ahead and stay at my base ISO of 200 and I'm shooting whatever, my dynamic range is still greater than somebody who is bumping their ISO up and shortchanging themselves, because they have to go up higher because they need the more depth of field, etc.
I essentially almost never go above 200 ISO on the G9. Saturday night again, I was walking around, did a walkabout in downtown Charleston at twilight until after any other camera would need a tripod, and I'm still shooting handheld at 200 ISO.
Yeah.
Never change the ISO.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll put it in auto ISO if I'm covering an event and it's dark. I mean, I'll go into some of these event halls, and because they've got mood lighting, etc., and I may even pull up a couple just to show. But you know what? I don't really have many problems because it doesn't have to go very high, because I'm not shooting at f8, f16, stuff like that. So, one of the benefits. Again, finding the right tool for the right job. This may be right for you, may not be.
Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, your mileage may vary. You know, some people say, well, I want this for this look. And again, it's having the right tool. Do you need a 3/8 inch drive socket set, or do you need a 3/4 inch drive impact? You know, what are you doing? So, having the right tool. Anything else we need to cover?
I have no idea what we're doing.
Okay, good.
You're saying you're right tool for what you're doing. I have no idea what that would be.
Well, we want to make sure that this film is in competent hands, and the answer to that is, why, certainly, we're all incompetent. Anyway, no. But, you know, as far as that goes, we'll probably have some more stuff with the Fuji. I've got the little 80mm little. 80mm 1.7.
Yeah, little and the 80 1.7 do not go in the same sentence.
Yeah, but it actually feels right. I mean, yes, it's a bigger camera than that, but it balances so nice. And of course, the 110 f2 we've got, and it's gorgeous. Every lens I've got for this thing works out beautifully. I'll sometimes put the little 50 millimeter f3.5 on here, set it to crop to square, and all of a sudden I'm having the same feeling of shooting the Hesse or the Bronica with the 82.8 on it. Gives me the same look, the same feel. So I like that. And the 32 to 64 zoom, that works great. I know they've got another lens coming down the pike. Hopefully we'll see it sometime later this year. I believe it's a 55-17 that they're coming out with. I truly wish that they would update their 63 millimeter, which is equal to a 50, because that's my favorite focal length. They've got a 63-2.8, but it's a little bit slow on the focus. It hunts a little bit, but you know, not a big deal for if you're not doing sports and stuff like that. But I'd like to see an upgrade with that. Yeah.
The Fuji makes fabulous lenses.
Yeah.
As I know from my GW690 that I had 35 years ago, and I have a couple of Fuji 4x5 lenses that.
Oh, they're brilliant.
All of them are good. All of them are good.
Yeah. You know, and everything I see, you know, from our friends Ben and Aaron Chrisman. They shoot the Fujis. A lot of times they're on the XT4s, XT5s, and the stuff that they're doing is absolutely brilliant. They're making huge prints out of these things. They're just gorgeous. But the lenses, and that's where it is. It's all in the lenses. Well, cool. Well, I think we've covered enough for now.
More than enough.
But just kind of let you know, we're still alive. We're still working.
More than humans should be allowed to have.
Oh, that's called fun. Anyway, but we'll go ahead and keep everybody updated and apprised, and we probably should have in the next couple of weeks, hopefully another video before I head off to Italy. I'll do some shooting out there while I'm visiting out there on a project, but we'll look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and get out and take lots of photos. Cut that sucker.